Hey, so Coach Brandon here, and let's go ahead and go over some of your lifts together while giving you my thoughts on what I see. To start, let's go ahead and look at a bench video. Nice. So realistically, there's two things I think we can get better at there. Just minor tweaks, really. But the two big things we can get better at, one is a leg drive. What I'd like you to do is it seemed like, even though the video didn't capture exactly where your feet were, it seemed like just based off looking at your lower limbs or your thighs and whatnot, we weren't quite as building as much tension as we otherwise could in our legs, which greatly helps power production upstream. So what we need to do is go from just kind of putting your feet out there where they don't do much for you. Let's go ahead and get them as far as we can under your body while still maintaining them being flat, so not going up on our toes, and then also trying to point them relatively straight as we do so is going to greatly help leg drive and power production, specifically off the chest, and make it much more stable throughout the press. So that's kind of my main notes for that one. Look at the next video. Nice. Conventional looks pretty good. Hips stay nice and high. The one thing I would say is that, as you can see here, we're locking out with a little bit soft knees, just a little bit. Actually, that one wasn't as bad, but the first few were a little bit worse. What we can do there is, what I really want you to do is focus on pushing through your feet. As simple as that sounds, any individual that has a soft lockout in their knees as they get to the top, it's usually because we're not building tension as well as we otherwise could. And a big part of building tension is pressing through your feet. So the actual cadence we go through is to set a little bit of brace, hinge down the bar, grab the bar. We're going to actually set big diaphragmatic breath, brace, pull the barbell in, and then the first thing we do to build tension is actually pushing our feet into the floor as hard as we can, to where if we weren't grabbing the bar in angle position, you would just shoot up. So you start pushing your feet in the floor, and all of a sudden the bar goes like this, and then we slowly go hips and chest up, hips and chest up, hips and chest up, as we're building tension, bar bends more, and then we come up. So again, anytime we're having either issues at the top or just soft lockouts, that's always because we could be building tension a little bit better. So remember that cue: press through the feet as you're building tension at first, hard, really hard. Then as we go to lift it, just focus on pressing through your feet, not locking the knees out, and we'll see if that helps. If it doesn't, we'll go ahead and go through some more cues to help with that, and maybe possibly some drills. But that alone is would be a big help. Nice. Yeah, I think squat's one of your more proficient movements. Looks really good. Love what I'm seeing. Foot width looks good. You're sitting the hole nicely, full range of motion. Seems like you're bracing pretty well. The only thing I'm noticing right now is we could be bracing just a little bit better. You'll notice as you send in the hole, I'm just going to start back a little further. You'll notice right before you send in the hole, the breath you take is just a little bit what we call chesty. I see a lot of movement in the chest, not so much diaphragmatically, but then again, you're wearing a fairly loose shirt. But again, that chest movement that I see when you take a breath in, let's go ahead and try to mitigate that, have it all come through the midsection of the belly, practice diaphragmatic breathing before we get under the bar, and that'll help a lot. We got to keep in mind that anytime we passively lengthen our abdominals before we brace, we're not going to be able to set up nearly as good of a brace as we otherwise could. So practicing diaphragmatic breathing, again, looking like this when we set a brace, having our belly fill up rather than anytime we see the chest move, the barbell move. It really wasn't that bad at all. A lot of people that have really bad chest breathing, you'll literally see the barbell move like a mile, something like that. So it wasn't nearly that bad, but at the same time, we can get a little bit more efficient at it, just making sure it all comes to the belly, very little to none coming through the chest. So besides that, your squat was gorgeous, looks really good. We can definitely handle more load. Nice. Yeah, this is probably the exact same thing. Everything looks really solid. Not a whole lot to add. We won't see anything come out likely until we get the heavier loads, because you're really proficient right now. But breath a little chesty, that's really all it is. So that was a really good one. And then lastly, this looks like a sumo. And this seems to be very similar. So conventional and sumo are building up a little bit of a consistency here with having issues locking out completely at the knee. Ideally, those knees are completely locked out the top of a actual deadlift. And what that tells us is, again, we just have some issues building tension. I'll go ahead and send you a few good videos on building tension for both conventional and sumo. But just keep in mind, anytime we lock out with those soft knees, it's a tension building issue. And since it's happening on conventional and sumo, it's definitely something I want to concentrate the most on. And it should be a fairly simple fix. It's just all about dialing in the sequence of building sufficient tension and exploding up from there. A good general philosophy to have is the harder you work to build tension, the easier the rep's going to be. So keep in mind, building tension should not be easy. It should be one of the hardest parts of lift. And if we do so efficiently, the lift will be quite easy. So let's go ahead and focus on that. I'll send you some good content on that. And you can just let me know if you have any questions.